It's 6 a.m. Your alarm blares. You fumble for the snooze button, still half lost in sleep. The room's cold. Your mind's already racing. Emails, deadlines, that awkward conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe you scroll your phone for a few numbing minutes, trying to shake off the dread of responsibility. Sound familiar? Now picture something different. Imagine waking up with calm clarity. You sit up, breathe deeply, and your first thoughts aren't of chaos or stress, but of purpose. You don't react to the world. You lead yourself into it. You rehearse your day, not with anxiety, but with resilience. Before the sun even rises, you've chosen the kind of human being you intend to be. That's the power of a strong morning. And that's where we begin this journey. Comparing two ancient paths, Stoicism and Buddhism, and asking a simple but life-altering question: who actually wins the day? Now I know this might sound like a philosophical showdown. But this isn't about who's right. This is about who prepares better, who arms you with sharper tools for facing the modern world, who anchors your mind more deeply so it doesn't get swept away by every headline, email, or awkward text message, who helps you walk into your day not just awake, but alive. Both Stoicism and Buddhism are built on deep traditions. Both teach discipline, clarity, and the art of living well. They both offer profound rituals that begin with the morning, that sacred window of time before the noise creeps in. But their methods, their goals, and even their definitions of success, those couldn't be more different. Buddhism invites you into stillness. It asks you to release attachments, embrace impermanence, and sit with what is. There's no need to fight the world, because the world isn't the problem. Your resistance is. Stoicism? It's not asking you to sit still. It's asking you to stand up. It doesn't want you to escape the world. It wants you to lead in it. Be a parent, a neighbor, a decision maker, a citizen. Face hardship without complaint. Train your mind not to retreat, but to engage, to stand in the chaos and remain unshaken. So, what does all that look like at 6 o'clock in the morning? That's what we're here to explore. Because how you begin your day isn't some fluffy self-help habit. It's the first brushstroke of your character. It's the first decision that whispers to the world who you are. Before the coffee, before the meetings, before your phone steals your attention, you choose what kind of mind you bring into the world. And the stakes are higher than you think. Think about it. If your first moments are hurried, reactive, and disconnected, that becomes your state. And your state decides your tone. Your tone sets your actions. And those actions, they define your life. So I want you to hang with me here. I want you to really listen. Because in the next hour, or two, or however long this ride takes, we're going deep. No fluff, no filters, no philosophical jargon. Just you, me, and a straight-up exploration of what it means to own your morning. We'll walk through a Stoic morning. We'll walk through a Buddhist one. We'll break them down side by side like two blueprints for the same house, a peaceful, powerful human being. And just so we're clear, I'm speaking to you from a Stoic point of view. That means I'm going to challenge you. I'm not here to make you feel cozy. I'm here to ask, are you living according to your nature? Are you facing life like a trained mind, or are you reacting like an amateur? But don't get it twisted. This isn't about dominance. Stoicism doesn't care about being better than Buddhism. It only asks, what works? What prepares you for life as it actually is, not how you wish it were? Because let's be honest, the world doesn't slow down. People will disappoint you. Plans will unravel, emotions will rise and fall. You will face suffering just as sure as you will breathe. And in those moments, what matters most isn't what you believe, it's what you've practiced, what you've trained for. And that training, it starts in the morning. So let's strip it all down. No gurus, no incense, no ancient robes, just you a regular human being, standing at the beginning of another day? Will you meet it with strength, with presence, with calm? Or will you stumble through it, tossed around by every wind of emotion? Stoicism says, practice now or pay later. Practice in the quiet, so you can stand firm in the storm. And if we're going to compare that to Buddhism, then let's do it right. Let's honor both traditions, but let's also be real about where they serve us and where they might not. Because by the end of this, you'll know which mindset actually wins the day. And more importantly, you'll know how to wake up tomorrow with purpose and start becoming the kind of person even chaos respects. Let's begin. Let's zoom in on something deceptively simple. The morning itself. It's easy to overlook. It's just the start of the day, right? Something you rush through on your way to what really matters. But what if I told you the morning is the battlefield? Not the war, but the critical first strike. The moment you either take command of yourself or give that power away before breakfast. From a Stoic perspective, the morning is where the entire arc of your character begins. This isn't poetic fluff. This is tactical, strategic. How you wake up sets the tone for how you react when your boss sends that annoying email, when your partner snaps at you, when traffic is a mess, when plans collapse. A reactive morning creates a reactive life. A disciplined morning creates a grounded life. And here's the thing. Stoicism doesn't care how inspired you feel in the morning. It cares about what you do with your mind the moment your eyes open. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and practicing Stoic, had to remind himself to get out of bed. That's right. One of the most powerful men in history had mornings where he didn't feel like facing the world, but he wrote, "You were born to act, not to lie in bed under the covers." Even he needed to fight that impulse to escape into comfort. And that's the point. Stoicism doesn't wait for motivation. It acts with intention, especially in the morning when your willpower is freshest and your identity is malleable. Now, why is this important? Because modern life throws everything at you first thing in the morning. Notifications, alerts, demands, headlines, bad news, clickbait. You can either step into that with a prepared mind, or you can be consumed by it. The Stoic chooses the first option. Every morning is a chance to rehearse who you are before the world tells you who to be. Contrast that with the Buddhist view of morning, and you'll find something surprisingly complementary. Buddhists also treat the morning with sacred respect. Their perspective is different, but the attention to the morning just as serious. A Buddhist might rise early to sit in silence, observe their breath, chant, or offer gratitude for the impermanence of life. They're not strategizing, they're surrendering. They're not rehearsing the day's challenges. They're letting go of all attachment to how the day should unfold. There's wisdom in that. There's peace in that. But here's where the Stoic lens sharpens things. We don't get to just observe life. We're here to participate in it. A Stoic doesn't try to detach from action. We lean into it. That's why the morning is a training ground, not just for mindfulness, but for virtue. So let's step into a Stoic morning. Let's break it down. You don't need candles. You don't need an app. You just need your mind and a willingness to lead it. First comes reflection. Before the day begins, a Stoic asks, what kind of person will I be today? Not what will I accomplish, not what will I check off my to-do list, but who will I become by the way I live? Will I be just even when it's inconvenient? Will I speak truth even if it costs me? Will I keep my temper in check even when others lose theirs? This isn't abstract. This is armor. When you reflect on your values in the quiet of morning, you're less likely to betray them in the noise of the day. Then, premeditatio malorum, one of Stoicism's most misunderstood but most powerful practices. You visualize adversity, not to be negative, but to be prepared. Before you even leave your house, you imagine people cutting you off in traffic, colleagues interrupting you, someone misinterpreting your words, a plan failing, and you rehearse your response, not your reaction. You see the obstacle, and you decide, I will remain steady. This will not shake me. See, where the average person is shocked and offended by difficulty, the Stoic is ready. We expect it. We even welcome it as an opportunity to practice strength. And when that moment arrives in real life, we don't flinch. We've already seen it. We've already rehearsed our lines. The performance is just a formality. After reflection and mental rehearsal comes journaling. But this isn't some diary entry. It's war notes. You write your intentions. You examine your thoughts. You strip away your ego, one line at a time. Seneca wrote letters to himself and others, interrogating his own behavior. What did I do yesterday that fell short of my character? What will I do differently today? This is how a Stoic sharpens their awareness, not through self-judgment, but through honest observation. And then comes voluntary discomfort. Yes, that's a real thing. Cold showers, early wake-ups, fasting, intense workouts. Not to punish yourself, but to remember, comfort is a drug. It makes you soft. It makes you entitled. And when life inevitably removes your comfort, you suffer needlessly. A Stoic uses discomfort in the morning to remind themselves, I don't need luxury. I can function and thrive under pressure. I can lose comfort and still retain character. So, the modern Stoic morning becomes a series of subtle but serious decisions. You wake not with urgency, but with intention. You take a moment before your phone. You reflect before you react. You visualize adversity so it loses its surprise. You train your body so it follows your will. You examine your thoughts so they don't hijack your values. You practice virtue, not because it guarantees success, but because it guarantees integrity. That's how you win the morning. And when you win the morning, you carry that discipline into every room, every conversation, every decision. Now you might say, that sounds like a lot. Isn't it easier to just meditate, breathe, and let go like the Buddhists do? Isn't that more peaceful? We'll get there. We'll explore that. But ask yourself this, when the storm hits, when your expectations collapse, when someone you care about needs strength and clarity from you, will peace be enough? Or will you need practiced courage? Will you need mental armor? Because in that moment, the kind of morning you had will decide who shows up. And that's what Stoicism is really preparing you for. Not just a peaceful moment, but a meaningful life. Not just serenity, but strength. Not just letting go, but stepping up. Now that you've seen the Stoic side, let's step into the world of the Buddhist morning. Let's walk slowly, quietly, and see what their path offers in the early hours. Let's see how their rhythm contrasts and where it might even align. Because both paths begin with awareness, but where they take you, that's where the difference begins. Let's walk into the Buddhist morning now. Slowly, quietly. No rush, no resistance. The Buddhist doesn't greet the day with a checklist or battle plan. They greet it with presence, stillness, breath. The moment they open their eyes, the world is not a challenge to conquer, but a gift to observe. The day is not something to win, it's something to receive. In the early hours, a Buddhist practitioner may rise before the sun, not to hustle, but to connect, with the breath, with the body, with the impermanence of all things. This isn't about productivity, it's about awareness. They might light incense, not out of ritualism, but as a symbolic reminder. Everything rises, burns, and fades. So does this moment, so does every feeling, so does life itself. They might sit on a cushion in silence, legs crossed, eyes half closed, not to empty the mind, but to become fully present with it. to watch the mind's movements without judgment, to notice thoughts arise like clouds and drift away without clinging. There's no agenda here. There's no goal other than to be awake, not just to the day, but to the nature of existence. In those first moments, a Buddhist may chant a few lines, ancient and rhythmic. These aren't incantations, they're reminders, reflections, a reaffirmation of compassion, of mindfulness, of the commitment to cause no harm. They may reflect on the precepts: do no killing, no stealing, no lying, no intoxication of body or mind. These aren't commandments, they're guides, anchors to help navigate a world of constant change. And most importantly, they recognize impermanence, anicca. The idea that nothing stays, not pain, not joy, not youth, not life itself. So the Buddhist doesn't resist change. They don't cling to expectations. They practice letting go again and again, starting with the smallest things: an itch on the leg, a distracting sound, a memory. By letting go of those in meditation, they prepare to let go of bigger things later: expectations, attachments, ego. To a Buddhist, this kind of letting go is not weakness, it's freedom. You can't be shaken if you're not holding on. You can't be disappointed if you're not demanding the world behave a certain way. And so, in the stillness of a Buddhist morning, there's a different kind of power. Not the strength of resistance, but the strength of release. Their breath becomes their anchor. Each inhale and exhale reminds them, I am here. I am alive. I need nothing more than this moment to be complete. And then, from that quiet place, they move into their day. Slowly, gently, sometimes with a smile. Where a Stoic arms themselves to meet the world, a Buddhist empties themselves to meet it. They don't rehearse adversity. They open to it. They don't visualize pain. They dissolve the self who resists it. They don't seek control. They seek understanding. And they believe that from deep understanding comes compassion, not just for others, but for themselves. It's beautiful. It's serene. It's deeply human, but let's not romanticize it. A Buddhist morning isn't always peaceful. The mind still chatters, the body still aches, distractions still arise, but the practice is in the noticing, the returning, the patience. That's where the training happens, in the discipline of presence. And that's where the overlap with Stoicism quietly emerges. Because while the methods differ, the goal is oddly similar: to be undisturbed by what you can't control, to show up to life with equanimity, to live with clarity, to respond, not react. So the question isn't which path is more spiritual, or more ancient, or more aesthetic. The question is, which one better equips you for your life? Which one brings you back to who you are when things fall apart? And that's where we shift gears. Let's get practical now. Let's lay these two routines side by side and look at them through 5 key lenses, pillars that shape your day whether you notice them or not. Because philosophy isn't just about sitting around and thinking, it's about living, choosing, acting. So let's see how each path stands up. First, intention. The Stoic starts the day by choosing who they will be. They reflect on their values. They prepare to act in alignment with virtue, no matter what happens. Their intention is to live with excellence, not perfection, but integrity. They decide to face hardship with strength and success with humility. The Buddhist, on the other hand, sets an intention to be present, to cause no harm, to walk gently. Their aim is not to succeed or achieve, but to see clearly. Their intention is to let go of craving and aversion and to respond with compassion. Both paths begin with intention, but the Stoic frames it in terms of action. while the Buddhist frames it in terms of awareness. One is outward, the other inward. One says, "Who will I be?" The other says, "Can I simply be?" Next, emotional regulation. Stoics train for it through logic. They remind themselves that emotions are judgments, not facts. Anger comes not from what happened, but from your belief about what should have happened. So they examine that belief, question it, and if necessary, discard it. Buddhists regulate emotion by seeing it as a wave. They don't argue with it, they observe it. They don't need to defeat anger, they just watch it arise and fall like everything else. And in that watching, the emotion loses its grip. So the Stoic counters emotion with reason. The Buddhist dissolves it with awareness. Both are powerful, both require training, but they approach the fire from different angles, one with water, one with space. Then we have discipline. A Stoic morning is built on discipline. Wake early, reflect, prepare, journal, act. Even discomfort is part of the training. Not to impress anyone, not to be extreme, but to build inner resilience. The Buddhist also values discipline, but it's softer, more fluid. Sit, breathe, be still. It's not about pushing, it's about staying with the moment, with the discomfort, with the silence. In both cases, discipline is a bridge. But the Stoic walks across it to act in the world. The Buddhist walks across it to sit in the truth. Now, let's talk about suffering. A Stoic sees suffering as a forge. Pain refines the soul. Difficulty reveals your training. You suffer, yes, but you suffer well. With honor, with purpose. You don't run from suffering. You don't wallow in it. You stand with it, like a soldier in a storm. The Buddhist sees suffering as a result of attachment. You suffer because you crave what you don't have or resist what you do. So the solution is not endurance, but release. Let go of your grip and suffering dissolves. Again, two truths. One says, endure. The other says, release. Both are useful. But which one prepares you better for the real world? The boss who doesn't listen, the heartbreak that knocks you flat, the fear that shows up at 3 a.m. And finally, engagement with the world. This is where the contrast is sharp. The Stoic believes in duty. You are a part of humanity. You have roles to play, a friend, a sibling, a parent, a citizen. Your job is to play those roles with virtue. You don't retreat from the world, you serve it. Buddhists lean more toward detachment, not isolation, but a gentle disengagement from the illusion of permanence and ego. You act, but without clinging, without needing a result, without needing to win. So where the Stoic rises to face the battlefield, the Buddhist sits beside it and watches. Where the Stoic draws the sword of reason, the Buddhist lays it down and smiles. Both are noble, both are beautiful. But when life hits you hard, when chaos comes knocking, when responsibility calls, ask yourself, do I need a moment of peace, or do I need a practiced mind that can step forward and act? We're not done yet, not even close, because theory only takes us so far. Next we step into a full day. 2 people, 2 mornings, 2 lives unfolding in real time. 1 Stoic, 1 Buddhist. Same world, same stress, very different responses. Let's see who actually wins the day. Meet Alex and Sam, 2 ordinary people with very different mindsets. Same city, same chaos, same obligations. But one of them practices Stoicism, the other Buddhism. And today we're following them from sunrise to sunset to see how each path holds up, not in theory, but in the real world. It's 5:30 a.m. Alex, the Stoic, wakes up with intention. No snooze, no scrolling, just a moment of silence before stepping out of bed. Alex sits with a journal and begins with a simple question. What virtues will I live by today? Courage, temperance, wisdom, justice. What adversity might I face? Traffic, rejection, delays, criticism. Alex pictures them all, one by one, and rehearses a steady response. Sam, the Buddhist, also wakes early, but instead of journaling, Sam lights a small candle and sits in meditation. The goal isn't planning, it's presence. Sam notices the breath, the stillness of the room, the sensation of being alive in this moment. Thoughts drift in, worries, memories, hopes, and Sam lets them pass like clouds. Nothing clung to, nothing rejected. Both begin with calm, but the difference is already visible. Alex is preparing to act. Sam is preparing to accept. Both are grounded, but in very different soil. By 7:00 a.m., the world starts knocking. Alex's phone buzzes. An email from a client, short and sharp, feedback that borders on rude. The gut reaction is there, but Alex pauses. This is no surprise. Alex already visualized this. A breath, a moment of clarity, then a reply, firm, respectful, focused on facts, not feelings. A small victory in the first skirmish of the day. Sam reads the same kind of email. The body tenses, the mind stirs. But instead of reacting, Sam notices the emotion arise. Frustration, ego, attachment to being treated with respect. Sam breathes, observes. The feeling loses its grip. Sam responds later with a calm tone, unattached to being right or understood. Another kind of victory, choosing peace over pride. Midday. The pressure builds. Meetings, deadlines, noise. Alex is juggling multiple demands. The plan is already breaking down, but that's expected. Stoicism taught Alex not to cling to the plan, but to respond with reason. One task at a time, one challenge at a time. When a colleague makes a mistake, Alex doesn't explode. Instead, Alex asks, "What's within my control here?" Only my response. That's enough. Sam's day unfolds differently. Fewer confrontations, more softness, but also a sense of disconnection at times. When people complain or vent, Sam listens with empathy, but doesn't always intervene, doesn't always feel compelled to fix things. There's a quiet compassion, but sometimes a lack of initiative. A colleague asks for help with a difficult decision, and Sam gently suggests they reflect on their own path. Helpful, perhaps, but also maybe a little too distant. Then comes adversity. A project falls apart. A miscommunication leads to blame. Alex is called out unfairly in front of the team. The emotions surge. But again, this isn't a surprise. Alex has rehearsed this. Pain is part of the training. Alex pauses, checks the impulse to lash out, and speaks clearly. I accept responsibility for my part. Let's focus on the solution. It's not comfortable, but it's honorable. Sam hears of the same kind of conflict across the office. A friend got embarrassed. Tension is thick in the room. Sam chooses to retreat for a few minutes, to meditate, to return to center. When Sam re-enters the space, the energy is calmer, but Sam doesn't address the tension directly. Instead, there's a gentle avoidance, a belief that all things pass, and that sometimes the best action is no action. By late afternoon, both are tired. The noise of the day has taken its toll. But here's the key moment: reflection. Alex, during a quick walk, thinks back on the day. What did I do well? Where did I lose control? What can I do better tomorrow? This isn't about guilt. It's about growth. Training never ends. Sam too takes time to sit quietly, observing the breath, scanning the body, releasing tension, not judging the day, not analyzing it, but simply being with it, letting it pass like all things must. There's peace in this, and maybe also a missed opportunity to learn from the storm. Evening arrives. Alex reads a passage from Epictetus, a reminder: don't demand that things happen as you wish that they happen as they do. That's not resignation, it's acceptance and action. Sam reads the Dhammapada. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. That's not detachment, it's liberation. Two paths, two people, two lives. Both stayed calm, both avoided emotional explosions, both found moments of clarity. But here's the subtle difference. Alex engaged, took responsibility, made difficult choices, carried the weight of duty. Sam observed, let go, walked lightly, carried the weight of awareness. So the question remains, who wins the day? Now, from a Stoic perspective, here's where we get honest. Buddhism offers serenity, a beautiful kind of peace. But there's a risk in that serenity, an undercurrent of passivity. If you're not careful, detachment can become withdrawal. You can start to believe that because all things are impermanent, nothing really matters. That because craving leads to suffering, desire itself should be avoided. But what about justice? What about the person next to you who's being harmed? What about the lie being told in the room? What about the injustice that requires action, not just acceptance? A Stoic doesn't get to sit still and smile at suffering. We step into it. We carry the responsibility. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire during plague, war, betrayal. He didn't get to just breathe and let go. He acted with reason, with restraint. But he acted. That's the Stoic critique, that while Buddhist detachment offers peace, it sometimes forgets duty. Life doesn't just happen to you, it calls on you. It asks for your strength, your voice, your decisions. And if you train only to let go, but never to step up, you risk missing your role entirely. Stoicism doesn't reject peace, but it wants peace that's earned through engagement. Peace that comes after you've spoken the truth, carried the weight, stood in the fire. Not peace through escape, peace through effort. Buddhism says, life is suffering, let go of your craving. Stoicism says, life is suffering, rise with your virtue. And while the Buddhist dissolves the ego, the Stoic refines it, strengthens it, so that when the world needs someone to lead, to hold the line, to stay steady in the storm, that person shows up, not detached, not reactive, but ready. There's wisdom in both paths, no question. And if your life is frantic, chaotic, dominated by noise and constant craving, Buddhism can save you from yourself. It can help you breathe again. It can teach you to stop clutching at everything. But if your life demands action, if people depend on you, if truth must be spoken, if strength must be shown, then you need something more than stillness. You need steel. You need Stoicism. Because peace is not the absence of struggle. It's the ability to face it with clarity. And that, in the end, is why the Stoic wins the day. So what does it really mean to win the day? Let's strip it down. It's not about checking every box on your to-do list. It's not about feeling calm every second. It's not about meditating for an hour or journaling like a Roman emperor. It's not even about being perfect. It's about facing what the day throws at you and choosing to respond with character. That's it. That's the scoreboard. Did you act with courage when fear showed up? Did you practice restraint when anger knocked? Did you stay steady when everything felt uncertain? Did you do the right thing when it was inconvenient? That's what Stoicism calls winning. And if you did none of those things, if you failed, snapped, stumbled, hesitated, that's fine too. Because the Stoic doesn't shame failure. We study it. We learn from it. We sharpen the blade for tomorrow. Because winning the day isn't a final judgment, it's a practice, a path. You're always becoming, and every morning gives you another shot. Buddhism reminds us of that too, in its own way. It teaches that no moment is fixed. You're not locked in. You're not trapped in some identity. Each breath is a return. Each moment is a chance to be awake. In that sense, both paths agree. Transformation is always possible. But here's where Stoicism makes its stand. The transformation doesn't just happen in stillness, it happens in action. You can sit with your thoughts all morning. You can watch them rise and fall like the tide. That's valuable. But what matters most is what you do when you stand up, when you leave the cushion, when life asks you to speak up, step forward, hold your ground, let something go. Are you ready then? Because the world doesn't care how calm you were at sunrise. It cares how you treated the barista when your order was wrong. How you spoke to your kid when they were melting down. How you handled being overlooked, interrupted, misunderstood. Those are the tests. That's the arena. And that's why the Stoic morning is so crucial. It prepares you not just to feel good, but to be good, to act well, to live well, look around. The world doesn't need more people escaping into silence. It needs people stepping into the noise with clarity. People who can take hits and stay kind. People who don't fold when it's hard. People who don't just float above life, but meet it right where it is. And let's be honest, that takes training, that takes friction, that takes confronting your own mind every morning and saying, I see you. I know what you're capable of. Now let's go prove it. That's what a Stoic morning does. It doesn't just ground you, it builds you, layer by layer. One decision at a time. You want to win the day. Don't ask how to be happier. Ask how to be braver. Ask how to be more just, more disciplined, more wise. Ask how to be the kind of person the world can count on when everything goes sideways. That's a high bar. But that's the bar Stoicism sets. Not because it's easy, but because it's worthy. Buddhism will tell you to let go of the bar entirely, to stop striving, to stop clinging. And there's truth in that too. There are moments when letting go is exactly what we need. But letting go should be a choice, not a habit. Sometimes you need to hold the line. Sometimes you need to carry the weight. Sometimes you need to want something, justice, truth, growth, and pursue it with everything you've got. That's the Stoic life. And it starts, not with philosophy class, not with a motivational quote, but with a morning, a quiet moment before the noise, a clear mind before the chaos, a choice. What kind of person will I be today? The Buddhists might say that question itself is an illusion, that the self is an illusion, that the striving is a trap, and I respect that view, I really do. But I'll take the trap, I'll take the striving, I'll take the responsibility, because whether or not the self is real, the people I care about are real. The problems in this world are real. The pain is real. And I want to be someone who stands up in the face of it. That's what winning the day means. Not dominating it, not breezing through it, but meeting it with presence and strength, with reason and resolve, with compassion that's not passive but active, with courage that's not loud but steady. You don't need to choose between these two paths forever. You can take from both. You can sit in silence and also speak truth. You can meditate and then lead. You can learn to let go and hold on when it matters, but if you're asking me, and you are, who wins the day? The one who chooses virtue, who acts with intention, who steps forward into difficulty, not away from it. The one who remembers that discomfort is the training ground of the soul, and that to me sounds a lot like the Stoic. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off and the world is still quiet, don't just wake up. Rise. Decide who you'll be before the world decides for you. Sharpen your mind, steady your breath, embrace the challenge, and go win the day.